The night was silent, but the sky was not. Across every nation, people stared upward as lights moved among the stars. They were not shooting stars, nor were they human satellites. They were too large, too many, and they glowed with a strange, blue fire that bent the clouds beneath them. Children pointed. Parents pulled them inside. Soldiers stood frozen, gripping their weapons as if guns could protect them from what was coming. The world knew, without any words spoken, they are not from here. In Washington, alarms rang in the Defense Command Center. Screens showed massive shapes in orbit. Analysts whispered the same impossible number, 30. 30 colossal ships had appeared out of nowhere, blocking Earth's satellites with their sheer size. Each one was larger than a city, silent and still. Admiral Carter, a man who had lived his life preparing for nuclear war, felt his hands tremble. He leaned forward over the glowing maps. "Are they attacking?" he demanded. "No, sir," replied an officer, her voice tight. "They're just watching." Half a world away in Beijing and Moscow and London, the same question filled the air. Who are they? But deep in the archives of old universities and forgotten caves, the answer had already been written thousands of years ago. Humanity had only forgotten. The first broadcast came at dawn. Every screen flickered, every radio hissed, and every phone went dark before a voice, calm and echoing, filled the silence. It was not one voice but many, layered together as if an entire council spoke at once. "Children of Earth," it said, "we return. After 30,000 years, we come to reclaim what is ours. Do not resist, do not fear. What we left, we now take." And then it ended, leaving the world in stunned silence. In the villages of Africa, elders remembered strange stories told by ancestors, stories of sky gods who came in burning chariots. In South America, the old stone temples carved with winged figures suddenly made sense. In Egypt, scholars stared at hieroglyphs of ships that were never boats. The myths had always been warnings. Humanity realized the truth. This was not their first visit. In the United Nations chamber, leaders shouted over each other. Some cried for peace, others for war. The president of one nation slammed his fist. "We will not bow. This is our world now." But others spoke with fear. "They left once. They can destroy us if we anger them." Outside, ordinary people panicked. Some fell to their knees, praying to old gods they did not even believe in. Others rushed to the streets, filming the giant lights in the sky, posting them across the internet as proof the world had changed forever. But among the fear, a strange curiosity spread. Who were these beings? And what had they left behind on Earth that mattered so much they returned after 30,000 years? In a small observatory in Chile, Dr. Elena Ruiz adjusted her telescope, heart pounding. She whispered to her assistant, "They are not here for us. They are here for something buried, something we do not yet understand." She remembered a fragment of text from an ancient manuscript. "The ship sleeps beneath the sea, waiting for its masters." Her words spread quickly to governments: buried ship, lost vessel. The aliens had not returned to conquer humanity, not yet. They had come to recover what they had lost. Still, suspicion grew. Military fleets took to the oceans. Fighter jets circled the skies. Submarines patrolled the deepest trenches. Every soldier knew the truth. If the aliens wanted war, humanity would not last a day. But humans also had something aliens did not expect: stubbornness, courage, and the will to fight even against impossible odds. As the sun set, one of the alien ships descended lower into Earth's atmosphere. Its shadow covered half the Pacific Ocean. Entire cities looked up and gasped as its enormous surface reflected the dying light. For a moment, the whole planet felt smaller, fragile, as if held in the palm of something far greater. On the deck of a U.S. carrier, sailors gripped the rails and stared in silence. One whispered, "It's like a god came back." Another replied, voice trembling, "No, it's like the god who abandoned us has returned for his throne." But the ship did not attack. Instead, beams of pale green light swept across the ocean, scanning, searching. The water boiled where the light touched, as if peeling away the secrets of the deep. And then, for the first time, the alien fleet moved as one. Every ship turned, their blue engines roaring like thunder across the sky. They aligned over the Pacific as if something beneath those dark waters called them. Dr. Ruiz, watching the news feed, whispered to herself, "They know where it is. They've come for their lost ship." The world held its breath. For thousands of years, humanity had ruled Earth, believing it belonged only to them. But now, in the cold eyes of the returning masters, they looked like trespassers living on borrowed land. Above them, the alien fleet shimmered in silence, waiting. Below them, in the depths of the ocean, something ancient began to stir. Humanity stood on the edge of a secret buried in time, and the return of its owners promised one thing: nothing would ever be the same again. The alien fleet still hung in orbit, silent and watching. Humanity could not sleep. Every television, every radio, every phone carried the same headline: "They have returned after 30,000 years." But while the world panicked, some searched for answers. Dr. Marcus Hale, an archaeologist with silver hair and tired eyes, sat in a dusty library far from the noise of the cities. He flipped through old manuscripts, drawings, and strange carvings photographed from caves across the world. His hands shook as he matched one symbol to another. "It was never just myth," he whispered. "They were here before." The carvings told of giants from the stars who walked the earth. They brought fire, they built stone temples, they taught men how to shape metal. But the stories always ended the same way: with fire in the sky, a great war, and the gods leaving, promising to return. Dr. Hale read the last line aloud to himself, his voice shaking. "The ship will sleep beneath the waves until the day the stars align once more." He closed the book slowly. His blood ran cold. At the same time, in Peru, researchers examined ancient ruins that had always puzzled them. Strange star maps carved into walls, spirals pointing to oceans, and giant figures pointing upward to the sky. One young scientist gasped, "It matches the orbit of the ships above us. They carved this 30,000 years ago." News of these discoveries reached the governments quickly. Leaders gathered in hidden rooms, their voices heavy with fear. One asked, "Are we sure these are the same beings?" Another replied, "Who else waits 30,000 years to return for something left behind?" In the streets, fear mixed with wonder. Some people carried signs calling the aliens gods. Others screamed that humanity must fight before it was too late. Families locked their doors. Children cried as sirens wailed through the night. But the aliens made no further broadcast. They simply waited. Meanwhile, deep under the Pacific Ocean, submarines picked up unusual readings. Massive structures lay buried in the trenches, older than any human city, made of alloys unknown to science. One captain reported in a hushed voice, "It is not natural. It is sleeping." Dr. Elena Ruiz, watching from her observatory in Chile, pieced it together. The carvings, the ruins, the myths, they all pointed to one thing. The aliens had not just visited Earth. They had lived here, ruled here, and the ship they now sought was no ordinary vessel. It was a relic of war, hidden away when Earth burned long before humans built their first villages. She spoke to a live audience, her words shaking the world. "We are not the first to claim this planet. We may only be caretakers of land once, ruled by others. What they left behind, what they seek now, may not just be a ship, it may be a weapon." Her words spread like fire. Social media exploded. People whispered in fear. If it is a weapon, what happens if it wakes? In the United Nations, debate turned bitter. Some leaders shouted, "We must prepare to fight." Others countered, "No, we cannot win against them. We must negotiate." Admiral Carter listened in silence, his jaw tight. Finally, he said, "They are not asking for peace. They are not asking for war. They are demanding. If they get what they want, will they leave us alone, or will they stay?" That question hung heavy in the room. Outside, storms raged across the Pacific as if nature itself was warning humanity. Ships tossed in towering waves, Lightning split the sky, and beneath those waves, sensors picked up movement. Something deep, something massive, stirred in its ancient sleep. On the deck of a Japanese destroyer, a young sailor pointed at the water. "Sir, the sea is glowing." Indeed, strange green light pulsed from the depths, spreading like veins of fire through the ocean floor. The alien fleet shifted, all 30 ships moving as one. Their engines lit the sky like blue suns. They positioned themselves above the glowing waters, forming a ring in the clouds. The world watched, terrified. In his library, Dr. Hale closed his eyes. He remembered one final line from the carvings. "When the ship wakes, the world will be tested. Only the strong shall inherit the earth." Humanity finally understood. The aliens had not just returned for a ship. They had returned to see who ruled Earth now. The past was no longer history. It was alive, breathing, waiting. And humanity was about to find out if they were strong enough to face the truth buried for 30,000 years. The world did not breathe easy after the alien broadcast. Instead, every hour that passed felt heavier, as if the sky itself pressed down upon humanity. 30 colossal ships floated above Earth, silent and unmoving, like watchful gods. But beneath, that silence was fear. In New York, people filled the streets shouting and crying. Some begged for their governments to fight. Others dropped to their knees praying to the sky. Markets crashed. Airplanes stayed grounded. Every nation's military stood on high alert. In Washington, Admiral Carter sat with generals and scientists. His voice was low but sharp. They are waiting for something. They are not attacking yet, but they are not leaving either. That means they need time. The question is, time for what? A scientist named Dr. Elena Ruiz, now famous after her warning about the buried ship, stood at the table. They want what they left behind. We cannot ignore this. The ruins, the carvings, the old myths, they all point to one thing. Something is hidden beneath the Pacific Ocean. They came for it. One general slammed his fist. "Then let us destroy it before they reach it." Elena's face hardened. "And if we strike first, Admiral, what do you think those ships will do? We'll be dust before our missiles reach the ocean." The room fell silent. Far away in Moscow, the debate was the same. Should they attack? Should they submit? Leaders who normally never agreed now shared the same heavy silence. Humanity's greatest powers had weapons of fire. But against ships that had waited 30,000 years, they felt like children throwing stones at mountains. Meanwhile, the aliens moved. One of the massive vessels descended lower, glowing engines, boiling the clouds around it. A beam of light swept across the Pacific, piercing into the ocean. Satellites recorded the event and sent it worldwide. People stared in horror as the sea itself seemed to part under the alien light. Waves rose, boiling water hissed, and then the light vanished. But the message was clear. They were searching. In Tokyo, Prime Minister Kuroda addressed his people with trembling words. "We do not know if they will leave once they take their ship. We only know this. Earth must show unity. If we fight each other, we will fall before them." Yet unity was fragile. Secretly, militaries rushed to test alien tech. Fighter jets shadowed the massive ships, gathering data. Submarines crept through the Pacific, mapping strange pulses from the ocean floor. Satellites recorded flashes of unknown energy rising from the depths. In a hidden lab in Switzerland, scientists analyzed signals captured from the alien broadcast. One young technician gasped as he decrypted faint whispers hidden in the data. "It's not just a message. It's instructions, coordinates." The numbers pointed directly to the Mariana Trench, the deepest place on Earth. The same place submarines had already reported unnatural metal. When the report reached Admiral Carter, he leaned back in his chair, his face pale. "So it's true. Their lost ship is down there, waiting." But there was more. The technician continued, his voice shaking. "Sir, the signal also mentioned something else. Not just recovery. Activation." The word fell like a hammer in the room. Activation. Elena closed her eyes. That ship is not just a relic, it's alive, it's a weapon. Outside in the Pacific, naval fleets moved into position. Carriers, destroyers, and submarines circled the suspected site. Pilots sat in cockpits waiting for orders that might never come. They all knew the truth. If the aliens wanted to destroy humanity, they could do it in minutes. But if that ancient ship truly awoke, no one knew what would follow. On the ocean floor, cameras from a drone finally captured it. A colossal structure, half buried in rock and sand, shaped like a spear and longer than a skyscraper. Its surface glowed faintly, veins of blue light pulsing slowly, like the heartbeat of something not quite dead. The world gasped as the images spread, Elena whispered when she saw the footage. It's been waiting for them. But not everyone was afraid. Some saw opportunity. A secret meeting between two world leaders ended with dangerous words. If we claim that ship before they do, we become stronger than them. Stronger than anyone. Greed, mixed with fear and suspicion, grew. Nations began to suspect each other. Would one betray the others and strike first? Would humanity's pride doom them before the aliens even moved? The aliens remained silent, but their fleet shifted again. All 30 ships turned together, their engines glowing like suns, pointing directly at the trench. It was no longer a mystery. They were going for their prize. Admiral Carter stood at the command center window, staring at the night sky. He muttered to himself, "This is it. We either hold the line, or we lose everything." The tension was no longer just between humans and aliens. It was also between humans themselves. Trust was breaking, alliances trembling. And somewhere deep in the darkness of the ocean, a ship older than human history pulsed with life, waiting to wake. The air felt heavy across the world. Children cried in their sleep. Soldiers gripped their weapons. Leaders whispered in fear. Humanity stood on the edge of something far greater than war. The test of their survival was only beginning. The Mariana Trench had always been a place of mystery, a scar in the ocean floor so deep that sunlight never touched it. For centuries, humans had only guessed at what lived in its black waters. Now, the guessing was over. Cameras and sonar showed what lay hidden there. An alien ship, vast and ancient, sleeping beneath layers of rock and silt. It was no ordinary wreck. The vessel stretched longer than 10 aircraft carriers, its metal surface carved with glowing veins of blue light. Strange symbols glimmered faintly, shifting as if alive. The ship looked less like a machine and more like something grown from the stars, a living giant trapped in stone. The first images, captured by deep-sea drones, spread across the world. Crowds gathered around screens in silence. Some cried, some prayed, and some whispered that humanity had just discovered the heart of its own doom. Admiral Carter stood in the control room of the U.S. Pacific Fleet, his eyes fixed on the trembling footage. "So it's real," he muttered. The legends were true. Beside him, Dr. Elena Ruiz nodded slowly. Her voice was barely a whisper. "This ship, it's older than our species. It has been waiting. It's not just buried. It was hidden deliberately." The Admiral turned sharply. "Hidden? By who?" "By them," Elena answered, pointing toward the sky where the alien fleet glowed faintly like cold suns. "They fought a war here. They sealed this ship away. And now, after 30,000 years, they've come to wake it." The tension grew heavier. Fleets from every major nation had gathered above the trench, circling like predators over prey. Dozens of warships, submarines, and aircraft patrolled the waters, but none dared to move closer. They all knew the truth. The first to act might trigger disaster for the entire world. Meanwhile, the alien fleet stirred. One of their ships lowered beams of green light into the Pacific. The water boiled and frothed under the energy. The light pierced straight into the trench, striking the buried vessel, and the ship answered. The glowing veins pulsed brighter, spreading like fire under glass. The ground shook violently. Waves rose like walls, slamming into naval ships. Alarms blared. Crews shouted as destroyers struggled to hold position against the monstrous seas. "Sir," a sonar officer cried, The vessel is alive. It's generating power. On screens across the globe, the alien ship began to awaken. Dust and rock slid away. Massive shapes like towers rose from its hull. The symbols etched into its surface lit with fierce blue light. Dr. Ruiz clutched her headset. It's not just a ship. It's a fortress. Maybe even a weapon. In the United Nations, panic swept through the chamber as live feeds showed the awakening colossus. Some leaders screamed for an immediate strike. Others shouted to hold fire. Fear tore through the room like wildfire. But the decision was no longer in their hands. The alien fleet moved into formation directly above the trench. 30 ships glowed in unison, their combined energy focusing on the trench below. A storm unlike any in history erupted. Thunder that split the sky, lightning that turned night into day. The ocean itself seemed to rise in defiance, yet it could not resist. From the depths, a sound rumbled, a deep, resonant hum like the beating heart of a giant. Every submarine in the region shook as their instruments went wild. One captain shouted over the static, "It's singing! The ship is singing!" Then, without warning, the ancient vessel sent out a pulse. It was invisible to the eye, but every human machine felt it. Satellites fell silent. Drones crashed. Warships lost their power for precious seconds, drifting helplessly on the raging waves. Cities across the globe blinked into darkness as grids collapsed, and then, just as quickly, the pulse ended. Lights flickered back. Engines roared again. Humanity gasped in relief, but the message was clear. The ship could shut them down anytime it wanted. Admiral Carter slammed his fist on the table. If that thing fully wakes, it will control every system on Earth. We'll be blind, helpless. But Dr. Ruiz shook her head. No, Admiral, not helpless. If we move carefully, we may still have a chance. If we understand it before they do. Her words trailed off. Everyone knew how dangerous that hope was. To study the ship meant risking everything. To leave it alone meant giving it back to the aliens without a fight. Above, the alien fleet descended lower, engines glowing like cold fire. Their patience was over. They were ready to reclaim their relic. On the deck of a Japanese carrier, sailors watched in awe as the water split apart under alien beams. The colossal vessel, once buried in darkness, was now rising slowly toward the surface, dragging the ocean with it. Waves crashed outward in all directions, swallowing smaller ships. Around the world, billions watched live as the ocean gave birth to a monster. The alien ship's surface gleamed under the moonlight, towering higher with every second. Its shape was like no vessel humans had ever built. A spear, a fortress, a temple, all fused together. And as it rose, its humming grew louder, shaking bones and rattling glass across entire continents. Humanity realized with terror and awe that this was only the beginning. The hidden ship was no longer hidden. It was awake, and now, the true battle for Earth would begin. The ocean roared like a wounded beast. Waves climbed as high as buildings, slamming against steel warships. Storm clouds churned above, lit by lightning that refused to fade. And in the center of it all, the ancient alien vessel rose from the trench, its body dripping with black water and broken stone. It was awake. The ship's surface glowed brighter with each passing moment. Strange blue veins ran across its hull like living rivers of fire. Towers unfolded from its sides, stretching into the air. And at its core, a pulse beat like a second sun, sending shock waves through the sea. On the deck of a carrier, sailors fell to their knees. Some prayed, others shouted curses into the storm. One whispered in awe, "It's not a ship. It's alive." Inside a control room in Washington, Admiral Carter gripped the table. "Status report." "Sir," an officer cried, "our satellites are offline again. Communications are failing across the Pacific. The pulse. It's disrupting everything." Dr. Elena Ruiz leaned over the screens, her face pale. "It's not just disrupting, it's testing. The ship is reaching out, probing Earth's systems. It's learning." The words sent a chill through the room. Meanwhile, across the skies, the alien fleet moved lower. Their 30 colossal vessels glowed in unison, casting shadows across continents. For the first time, beams of green energy connected their ships to the rising giant below. It looked as though they were feeding it power or perhaps guiding its awakening. And the ship responded. With a roar that shook the seabed, panels on its hull cracked open. Streams of glowing light shot upward, striking the clouds and splitting the storm in half. The sky turned white for an instant. Then the pulse came again. This time, it was stronger. Across the planet, power grids collapsed. Entire cities fell into darkness. Aircraft lost control, tumbling from the skies. Hospitals, homes, and bases all went silent. The Earth itself seemed to bow under the weight of the alien machine. Billions of people gasped in horror. Television feeds cut out mid-sentence. Radios screamed with static. Humanity was blind. In the United Nations chamber, chaos erupted. Leaders shouted, demanding action. Some begged for negotiation. Others screamed for war. One voice rose above the noise. If they control that ship, humanity is finished. But no one knew what weapon could stop something that had survived 30,000 years beneath the ocean. On the Pacific waters, submarines made their move. A group of commanders, acting without approval, fired torpedoes at the rising vessel. The weapons raced through the dark sea, leaving trails of bubbles behind. They never reached their target. The alien ship pulsed once more. The torpedoes froze mid-water, their systems shutting down instantly. Then, with a sickening silence, they sank uselessly into the trench. On one submarine, the captain gritted his teeth. "We are insects to it," he muttered. Insects throwing pebbles. But then something unexpected happened. The alien vessel shifted. Its humming voice changed pitch. Lights along its hull flickered, and for the first time, the ship released sound into the air. It was not words, not music, something in between. A deep, vibrating call that rattled the bones of every living thing that heard it. All across the world, people felt it. Dogs howled, birds fled, children cried in terror. Even soldiers hardened by war pressed their hands to their ears. Dr. Ruiz stared at the waveform on her screen. Her lips trembled. "It's speaking." Admiral Carter snapped his head toward her. "Speaking? To who?" She looked up at him, her eyes wide. "Not to us. To them." She pointed at the alien fleet above. "It's reporting in. It's letting them know. It has woken." Above the storm, the alien fleet answered with their own pulses of light. For a moment, the sky itself looked like a conversation between giants. But humanity was not ready to listen. In Tokyo, the Prime Minister demanded emergency countermeasures. In Moscow, orders were given to prepare nuclear strikes. In Washington, commanders begged for permission to launch missiles at the alien fleet, yet no one pulled the trigger. Fear held them back. One wrong move, and the world could end in minutes. Meanwhile, the ancient vessel began to rise higher. Water poured off, its sides like rivers. Its shadow stretched across miles of ocean. The colossal machine that had slept through ice ages now broke free into the air, glowing brighter than the moon itself. Dr. Ruiz whispered, her voice barely audible. "If it takes flight, we lose everything." And then, as if to answer her, the alien ship tilted its nose upward. Engines long dead flared to life in a blaze of blue fire. The ocean boiled beneath it. Entire fleets rocked violently, tossed like toys on waves. The awakening was complete. The ship had returned to the sky, and as the 30 alien vessels surrounded their reborn relic, humanity watched with helpless dread. The test had begun. The future of Earth now hung in the balance, between surrender, destruction, or defiance. The alien vessel floated above the Pacific, its enormous body glowing like a second moon. The 30 alien ships circled it like guardians, feeding it power. With streams of green light, humanity watched in silence, billions of eyes locked on the sky. For the first time in history, Earth felt small. In Washington, Admiral Carter stood before the President and his council. His face was stern, but his eyes betrayed the weight he carried. If that ship fully activates, he said, they won't just control the oceans or the skies. They'll control the entire planet. The president leaned forward. Options? None that we like, Carter admitted. Our weapons are useless. Our machines shut down whenever it pulses. We're outmatched. The only question left is, do we surrender or do we resist? The room fell into heavy silence. Surrender meant survival, but at a terrible cost. Earth would no longer belong to humans. Resistance meant defiance, but possibly extinction. Dr. Elena Ruiz broke the silence. She spread old photographs of carvings and ruins across the table. I've been studying these since the awakening. They don't just tell of war, they tell of betrayal. The ship wasn't lost. It was hidden from its own creators, buried because it was too dangerous even for them. Her words shocked the council. Are you saying, the president asked slowly, that the aliens don't fully control it? Elena nodded. Not yet. They're trying to reawaken something they don't fully understand. That's our chance. In Moscow, leaders heard the same intelligence. In Beijing, in Tokyo, in London, every nation now faced the same truth. The aliens had the advantage, but they didn't hold total control. Still, fear split humanity apart. Some demanded negotiation, believing it was better to kneel than to die. Others demanded war, shouting that Earth was humanity's by right. Military commanders clashed with politicians. Protesters filled the streets of every city, some waving banners begging the aliens for peace, others burning effigies of their ships. The world was tearing itself in two, even as the threat above grew stronger. On the deck of a submarine near the trench, Captain Harris spoke quietly to his crew. We are ghosts in their ocean. They don't see us yet. If command gives the word, we'll strike, but remember, our weapons might never even reach them. His crew nodded silently. They knew their mission could become their grave. Meanwhile, inside a hidden research facility, scientists worked desperately to decode the signals the alien ship was sending. One young analyst gasped as she cracked a fragment of data. It's not just energy. It's a map. The ship is trying to link with Earth's grid. It wants to merge with our systems. Dr. Ruiz's blood ran cold when she heard. If it succeeds, every city, every satellite, every machine will be theirs. We'll have no defense left. Admiral Carter slammed his hand against the table. Then we act before it finishes. We send a team inside. The idea hung in the air like a spark. The alien ship was colossal, but somewhere inside there had to be a core, a heart, a system that kept it alive. If humanity could reach it, maybe they could shut it down, or take control. But the risk was unthinkable. Anyone sent in would likely never return. Still, a choice had to be made. In the United Nations, the Council voted through shouting and chaos. Some voices demanded surrender, others screamed for attack. Finally, one representative stood and shouted the words that cut through the noise. If we give up now, we die slowly. If we fight, we might still live. Humanity was not born to kneel. The chamber erupted. The decision was made. Humanity would resist. That night, under the cover of storm clouds, a stealth shuttle launched from a hidden base. Inside were a handful of soldiers, engineers, and Dr. Elena Ruiz herself. Their mission was clear: infiltrate the alien ship before its systems fully awakened. Find its heart, and either disable it or claim it. On board, Elena stared out the window as the glowing giant loomed closer. Her hands trembled, but her voice was steady. We're not just fighting for survival. We're fighting for ownership of Earth itself. If we succeed, we prove this planet belongs to us. The soldiers nodded, their faces pale but resolute. They all knew the truth. This mission might never be recorded in history. But if they failed, there would be no history left to record. Above them, the alien ship pulsed with light, unaware, or perhaps unconcerned, that fragile humans dared to challenge it. And across the world, billions waited, holding their breath, knowing that the fate of Earth now rested in the hands of a few. Humanity had chosen. They would not surrender. They would fight. The alien ship loomed like a mountain of fire above the Pacific. Its blue veins pulsed brighter with every heartbeat, echoing across the ocean like thunder. Around it, 30 alien warships formed a ring guarding their ancient prize. Humanity's fleets floated below, fragile shadows compared to the giants above. And yet, inside one small shuttle, humanity's fate was carried by a handful of people. Dr. Elena Ruiz sat strapped to her seat, staring at the glowing colossus ahead. Soldiers checked their weapons, though they all knew bullets and missiles meant nothing here. Captain Harris, leading the mission, broke the silence. "Our orders are clear. We get inside, find the core, and shut it down, no matter the cost." The shuttle trembled as it entered the ship's shadow. Its systems flickered, struggling against the alien pulses, but somehow it held together. Through a narrow gap in the hull, the shuttle slipped inside. Darkness swallowed them. The interior of the ship was like stepping into a cathedral built by gods. Vast corridors stretched endlessly, walls glowing with shifting symbols. Structures rose like pillars humming with energy. It did not feel like a machine, it felt alive. One soldier whispered, "We're inside the belly of a beast." Elena's eyes darted across the walls. No, not a beast. A weapon. She placed her hand on the glowing surface. For a moment, the ship responded, symbols shifting beneath her palm. "It recognizes us. It's curious." The team moved deeper. Their boots echoed in the silence. Every step felt like trespassing on sacred ground. Meanwhile, above the ship, chaos unfolded. Human fleets clashed with alien warships. Missiles streaked the skies only to be erased by alien shields. Lasers from the alien vessels cut through destroyers like knives through paper. Still, humanity fought with stubborn fury, refusing to retreat. Admiral Carter barked orders from the command center. "Hold the line. Buy them time." His voice carried the weight of desperation. Every minute the infiltration team gained could mean the difference between survival and extinction. Inside the alien ship, Elena's team reached a vast chamber. At its center stood a massive structure, pulsing like a heart, casting shadows across the walls. The core. It was beautiful and terrifying. A sphere of light wrapped in twisting veins of crystal and metal. Its energy shook the chamber, vibrating through their bones. "This is it," Harris whispered. "This is what we came for." But before they could move closer, the ship reacted. From the walls, shapes emerged. Sentinels of light, humanoid figures, made of energy, their eyes glowing like stars. They moved without sound, blocking the humans' path. The soldiers opened fire. Bullets passed through the sentinels, useless. The figures advanced, their hands glowing with deadly power. One soldier screamed as he was struck, his body collapsing in smoke. "Fall back," Harris shouted, but Elena stepped forward, raising her hands. "Wait," she cried. The sentinels paused, tilting their heads. Elena's voice trembled, but she spoke firmly. "We are not your enemies. We are the children of this planet, and this world is ours now." For a moment the chamber was silent except for the hum of the core. The sentinels flickered, uncertain. Elena pressed on. "You were hidden here because you were too dangerous. Even your creators feared you. But we are not them. We are humanity, and we will not bow." The core pulsed violently, as if listening. Then, the ship screamed. A deep rumbling sound shook the chamber, nearly throwing the humans off their feet. The sentinels raised their hands, ready to strike, but Elena stepped closer to the core. "If you want a master," she whispered, "choose us, not them." The core answered. A blinding wave of light filled the chamber. The sentinels froze. Their glowing eyes dimmed, then turned away from the humans. Slowly, one by one, they vanished back into the walls. The soldiers stared in disbelief. Harris turned to Elena. "What did you do?" "I didn't command it," she whispered. "I convinced it. The ship has chosen." Above, the alien fleet roared in anger. Their beams of power broke off, their formation shifting. They realized too late what had happened. The ship, their ancient weapon, no longer answered to them. It answered to humanity. The core pulsed again, sending a shockwave through the skies. Alien warships faltered. Their shields collapsed. For the first time, their perfect control broke. Admiral Carter's eyes widened as reports poured in. They're vulnerable. All ships, fire everything you've got. Across the oceans, missiles and cannons roared. Explosions lit the night as alien vessels cracked under human fire. One by one, the mighty ships fell, burning into the sea. The battle turned. The alien fleet, realizing their prize was lost, began to retreat. Their once perfect formation shattered. Humanity, against all odds, had not only survived, they had. When inside the ship, Elena touched the glowing core one last time. Its light softened like the steady heartbeat of a giant. She whispered, "You are not their weapon anymore. You are ours. And with you, humanity will never kneel again." As the dawn broke over the Pacific, the alien fleet vanished into the stars, leaving behind their greatest relic in the hands of those they once called children. Humanity had chosen defiance, and for the first time in 30,000 years, Earth truly belonged to humans.